When you look at a thriving business, what do you see beyond the spreadsheets, the balance sheets? Is it really just about making money? Or is there something deeper, maybe an unseen structure that dictates its long-term success?
Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at the intersection of business ethics, the private sector, and corporate governance. And we've pulled together some key materials here, aiming to really distill the critical insights on how businesses are run ethically and effectively, especially now.
Right. And our mission, really, for you, the listener, is to get beyond just the surface stuff. We want to pull out those really important nuggets of knowledge. The goal is to help you feel well-informed, ready to maybe apply these insights, whether that's in your own career or maybe investing or even just understanding the corporate world a bit better. And what we'll find, I think, is this constant tension, this sort of delicate balance between generating profits and, well, social responsibility. It's key.
Okay, so let's start by grounding ourselves a bit. The private sector. Because that's where most global employment actually is, right? The numbers can be kind of surprising. Like in the U.S., it's about 85% of employment. China, around 70%. But then you look somewhere like Saudi Arabia. As recently as 2021, less than 35% private sector employment. That's quite different. And it's especially interesting when you think about Saudi Vision 2030, which is aiming to really grow that sector significantly.
That ambition is fascinating. It really is. Because it immediately brings ethics right to the forefront, doesn't it? As that private sector grows, quickly, the need to build ethical foundations from the start becomes huge. And for anyone looking to get into that space or move up, there's this typical career path where ethical conduct just becomes more and more critical. You might start as, say, an engineer, maybe an accountant, focused on the technical side. But you learn pretty fast that your reputation for integrity, how you work ethically with people, is just as vital. Then you move into management, maybe overseeing teams. Now you're responsible for the ethical climate of your group, not just your own work. And by the time you're in senior leadership, a VP, CEO, you're setting the ethical tone for the whole company. It's baked in. Ethical leadership isn't optional.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's not just what, it's how you operate.
Yeah.
We saw that example of Majid, right? The engineer at the large petroleum company. Over 5 years, he moves up, supervises a team in chemical production. But what really made him stand out wasn't just being hardworking, it was being deeply ethical. That reputation. And that reputation directly led to an offer from a new startup that wanted him as a VP. So more money, more responsibility, sure, but it was a move enabled by his ethical character.
Exactly. Majid's story, it just shows that ethics isn't some, tick box exercise. It's actual currency in your career. It opens doors, builds trust, which leads to a good question for you listening. Thinking about your own path, what ethical principles are non-negotiable for your success? And maybe, how do you plan to show those from day one?
Which brings us right to the core concept, doesn't it? What is business ethics, really? And maybe more importantly, how do businesses actually manage that balancing act? Making profits, but also acting responsibly, especially when they seem to conflict.
Well, at its heart, ethics is about moral principles, rules of conduct. So business ethics is just applying those rules to how businesses and an employee should act in business situations. But here's the thing. It's way more than just following the law. An ethical business, it doesn't just avoid lawsuits. It actually attracts better employees. It gains customer loyalty. It builds shareholder confidence. And while laws, statutes and contracts, they set a baseline, it really falls on managers to actively enforce ethical conduct. You mentioned Saudi Arabia. The Saudi labor law, for instance, influenced by Islamic concepts, stresses things like non-discrimination. Fairness is built in. It's cultural, moral, not just legal.
So it's about a deeper commitment beyond just legality. Okay, and it sounds like these ethical issues, they're rarely just internal problems, right? They usually come from relationships with outside groups, stakeholders.
Precisely. Stakeholders, that's the term. And understanding their interests, which often clash, is absolutely key. Think about it. Investors, they want sound financial decisions, right? Better sales, profits, returns. Often short-term focus. Customers, they expect safe products, reliable ones, reasonably priced. Trust is fragile there. Employees, they demand fairness, hiring, promotion, pay, and increasingly purpose, a good work environment. Creditors need timely payments, accurate accounting, transparency. Suppliers, they rely on good communication, getting paid on time. Even competitors, they expect fair play, honest competition. The real trick is balancing all these demands. Like cutting costs for investors might hit employee benefits or supplier payments. Instant ethical dilemma. That's a really clear framework for seeing where the pressures come from. And it makes me think of that scenario we read about Hassan and Abdullah. Young entrepreneurs, inspired by Vision 2030, Hassan wants to stay local, Saudi customers only. Abdullah sees huge potential online, international customers, suppliers. But Hassan, he has these deep ethical worries. Worker standards with international suppliers, maybe inappropriate comments on social media from customers elsewhere. That's hitting exactly that web of stakeholder issues you just laid out.
It's a perfect modern example, yeah. Global reach versus local standards.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? And that's often where a code of ethics comes in. It's meant to be more than just a document gathering dust. It's supposed to be a practical set of rules guiding everyone's actions in the organization. We saw some strong examples. SABIC, the big chemicals company. Their code covers antitrust, anti-corruption, workplace environment, safety, fair employment. It's comprehensive. And Saudi Aramco's code, committing to integrity, safety, environment, employees, competition, shareholders. What seems important isn't just what they cover, but that they acknowledge this broad range of responsibilities.
Exactly. And the best codes, they're usually worded in terms of acceptable behavior. What you should do, not just what you shouldn't, a positive guide. And in Saudi Arabia, like we mentioned, these codes often draw on Islamic concepts, adding a specific ethical dimension. The Ministry of Human Resources and Social Development even has a guide manual to help businesses align practices.
But even with a solid code, you're still going to face tough calls, right? Real-world dilemmas, like should a company be responsible for offensive stuff customers post on its social media? Privacy breaches by users. Or what if you find out a popular product has negative environmental impacts? Do you stop making it, even if it means big losses? These aren't just thought experiments. They force companies to really live their ethics.
Absolutely. Those are the gray areas where character is tested,
Yeah.
and it really highlights how much top management's own moral compass matters. Their decisions set the tone. Beyond specific rules, there are general guidelines. Transparency, letting workers ask questions. Clear ways to report violations, safe conditions, mutual respect, justice, equality, non-discrimination, and crucially, explicitly forbidding things like bribery, dodgy gifts, corruption, unauthorized fundraising. Companies like SABIC and Aramco, being global players, they detail this stuff meticulously. They have to.
One area that seems particularly tricky is conflict of interest. That keeps coming up. When someone's action gives them an unfair benefit, right? Usually by putting their own interests first, like
Yeah.
the example of a board member pushing the company to buy stuff from their own business. That's a clear conflict.
And then there's outright bribery. Our sources highlight this as a major threat. It's illegal pretty much everywhere, including Saudi Arabia. Severe penalties, prison, fines for both sides. And for companies, it can be devastating. Huge fines, maybe getting banned from future contracts. Saudi Arabia's anti-corruption body, Nazaha, is actively working on this. But here's the tricky cultural part. In some places, gift-giving, hosting business contacts, it's normal, seen as respect, relationship building. So distinguishing genuine appreciation from an attempt to bribe someone, that can be really difficult. It needs very clear internal rules.
That cultural nuance makes the scenario you mentioned earlier even tougher. What do? You work for a government agency handling investment licenses. A big chain wants a license, and they send you vouchers for their overseas hotels or restaurants. It's not cash, but
Yeah.
It forces you to think about that line. Where is it?
Exactly. These kinds of things lead us right to the top level. Corporate governance. It's not just jargon. It's the whole system, rules, practices, processes that dictates how companies are directed and controlled. And it's absolutely vital for balancing all those stakeholder interests we talked about. Shareholders, private and government, boards, management, customers, suppliers, financiers, governments, the community, everyone. It's the accountability framework.
Okay, so if corporate governance is the big system, who's actually steering the ship, making sure ethics are upheld?
Primarily, that's the board of directors,
Yeah.
the governing body. Their job goes way beyond just meetings. They set strategy, they hire and oversee the CEO, they ensure management operates legally and ethically. How they get there depends. Public companies, elected by shareholders, non-public, determined by the owners, maybe government, maybe private individuals. But their role is to be the ultimate ethical compass.
And the real-world impact. You can really see the difference between good and bad governance, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. Good governance policies, they directly boost a company's image, build trust with everyone involved, and often increase profitability. When companies focus on environmental awareness, ethical behavior, accountability, transparency, strong strategy, fair employment, risk management, you often see that on their investor relations websites. It signals stability, integrity.
But the flip side,
Yeah.
bad governance. It can seem okay in the short term, maybe, but lead to disaster. The classic stark example we looked at, Volkswagen's Dieselgate. VW deliberately put a cheat device in their engines to fool emissions tests in the US, in Europe. The consequences were immense. Stock value tanked, lost something like 42.5 billion US dollars. And the company booked $35 billion in losses from it. Just devastating.
Dieselgate and others like it really forced a rethink about what corporations are even for. Historically, the main idea was, well, maximize shareholder returns. That was the goal. But today, that's seen as too narrow. Good corporate governance now means serving a much wider group, delivering real value to customers, investing in employees, dealing fairly ethically with suppliers, supporting communities, and then generating long-term sustainable value for shareholders. So being a good corporate citizen, it's not just PR fluff anymore. It has to be baked into how you operate. Environmental awareness, ethical behavior. It's fundamental.
That shift in purpose is huge. Really fundamental. And it makes you think about how these principles work at every level, right down to individuals interacting. We often talk about teamwork as a key skill, but maybe we don't always connect it directly to ethical behavior. Right. But there's a link there, isn't there?
There absolutely is. Employers value teamwork so highly, partly because it reflects someone's ability to act ethically in a group setting. I mean, think about it. Good teamwork means you're ready for disagreements, but handle them constructively. You adapt to different personalities. You agree on clear rules and roles respectfully. Decisions aren't about one person winning. They're about shared agreement after listening to different views. It's fostering that we, us, ours mindset, not I, me, my, showing courtesy, respecting differences. Basically, having a strong individual ethical compass makes for a better, more productive, and ultimately more ethical team.
Wow. Okay. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, really comprehensive, from private sector careers and how integrity literally pays off, to defining business ethics beyond just rules. We looked at managing all those different stakeholder pressures, the role of codes of conduct, those tricky ethical spots like conflicts of interest, bribery, and then capped it off with corporate governance, its huge impact, and lessons from failures like Volkswagen.
It's a complex picture, definitely, and it's always evolving. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Given everything we've discussed, this complex changing landscape, what ethical consideration do you think is the most critical for businesses to prioritize to really get right in the coming years? And maybe why that one? Something to chew on.